Hello and welcome to our discussion today on strategic time management. And today we want to focus on the 7 habits of highly effective people, right? And our focus will be on describing the foundational principles of Stephen Covey's time management philosophy. We'll differentiate between proactive and reactive mindsets. We'll also apply Covey's time management matrix to our setting, our academic setting, or your professional setting, wherever you find yourself. And then we'll also integrate the 7 habits into daily routines for improved effectiveness and well-being, right? So the 7 habits of highly effective people was written by Stephen Covey, right, in 1989. And it offers a principle-centered framework that transcends traditional productivity tactics. What he does or what he has in his book is it's not just to have us do more in very little time, right? But it's about doing what really matters. And by doing this in a guided way, guided by deep personal values, right? So you realize that it tries to shift attention from just efficiency to effectiveness. So rather than doing a lot of things in very little time, according to Stephen Covey, you rather focus on what really matters, okay? And doing what is really necessary. In the organizational setting, it's not just working so much in very little time, but it is trying to achieve the organization's objectives as they have been set by management, right? So, according to the time management philosophy, you have traditional time management being equal to external control plus task efficiency, okay, where you are trying to do what you can do within some time limits. But according to Covey's model, he says that you have internal discipline, and that, in addition to purpose-driven prioritization, helps you to become more effective, okay? So according to him, it's not just the fact that you don't have enough time to do all the things that have to be done, but it is about prioritizing the wrong things. So it's not like you don't have so much time on your hands, but there are a lot of things on your to-do list that are not really necessary. They are not really supposed to be where they are on your list. What it means is that if you are able to prioritize very well, then those things may not be on your list in the first place. Okay, so he says people don't lack time, they prioritize the wrong things. Then we look at the relationship between proactive and a reactive mindset. If you say someone is proactive, what it means is that these people can focus on what they can control, right? So for a proactive person, they focus on the things that they can control. And as they focus on those things they can control, they anticipate the challenges that are likely to come as they pursue the things that they can control. And then they use a self-discipline. They use self-discipline to guide the way they behave in um in 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 doing the work that is assigned to them. All right. So proactive people focus on what they can control and they do the things that they have control over. Whilst they are doing that, they anticipate challenges and they use self-discipline to guide the way they behave. Then you have reactive people. Reactive people most of the times respond emotionally, right? And if things don't go as they have planned, they blame external conditions. So they will look for every reason all right, or every excuse in the environment and state it as the reason why they were not able to perform a particular task. Okay, so they respond emotionally and then they blame external conditions, right? And you also notice that they let urgency dominate the decisions they make. So they wait until the last minute where whatever task has been assigned has become now very urgent, and that is where they would now take a decision. Okay, so reactive people respond emotionally. They blame external conditions for the outcomes that they get if it's not positive, and then they let urgency dominate their decisions. Whilst proactive people focus on what they can control, they anticipate changes, and then they use self-discipline to guide the way they behave, right? So, according to Covey, between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies our power to choose. Okay, so whether you be a reactive person or you be a proactive person, it all depends on you and your ability to choose. Okay, so whether you would respond in an emotional way, which will make you a reactive person, or that you will focus on what you have to do as a proactive person, all depends on you. Okay, and it depends on you and your power to make a choice on how you want the things done, right? Then we look at the time management matrix, and the time management matrix has 4 quadrants. Okay, and it's a 4 quadrant framework that helps for decision making and time allocation, right? So in the first quadrant, you have urgent and important decisions which have to be made. And this is very frequent when you have crisis or you have deadlines to meet. And in most of the cases, the outcome is that if you find yourself always in the first quadrant, where the activities that you have to perform are always urgent and important, then what is likely to happen is that you are most of the times going to be stressed out, and you are also going to experience a lot of burnout. Okay. Then you have the second quadrant where you have activities or you have decisions to make, decisions which are not urgent, but they are important. All right. And some of the decisions that you can find yourself making in this quadrant are when you have to plan for activities, when you have to plan for events, when you have to plan for tasks to be done. You realize that you they are not so urgent, but they are very important. Or when you are thinking about personal growth, on developing yourself and making yourself better. These decisions are not urgent, but they are very important. And most of the times, the outcome is that it makes you very effective. It shows you are a highly effective person, right? Then you have the third quadrant where you have urgent decisions to make, which are not so important. And some examples are where you have interruptions. So you are on a particular task or you are on a particular project, and you have regular interruptions from friends, from your phone, from social media notifications, all of those. You realize that sometimes emails come, some of these emails are urgent, but they are really not important. And in most of the cases, it makes you look very busy, as if you are doing a lot of things, but it's just an illusion. Okay, so the outcome is that you have an illusion of productivity, a form of productivity. You look like you are doing so much. You look like you are being productive, but the real deal is that you are not doing anything. Okay, then you have the fourth quadrant where you have decisions to make, decisions which are not urgent and they are also not important. And here you have examples like time wasters. Okay, and the outcome here is that most of the times when you find yourself in the fourth quadrant, you are always disengaged from your task. Okay, so you know what has to be done, but because you have time wasters around, you have a lot of distractions around, not important things and also not urgent things, you tend to be disengaged. Okay, you are not productive at all. And it's advisable that every individual tries to live in the second quadrant or in quadrant 2, where you focus on what matters most. Okay, what matters the most, even when it is not urgent. So you realize that, for example, you have to go back to school or you have a task to complete. It is not really urgent, but it is important. As you focus on that important thing which is not so urgent, it helps you to be able to plan well and you give off your best when the time comes. All right, so that shows how effective you are. So the outcome of the second quadrant is that it shows a high effectiveness. Okay, so basically this is what we have discussed. And it's important that you find yourself in the second quadrant where you have decisions to make which are not urgent, but they are important. Okay, I believe this is clear. If you have any questions, we will address your questions in class. Then we move to the 7 habits that were proposed by Covey and how we can apply them. The first one says, be proactive. Be proactive here means control your response to challenges. Okay, so if things happen or if we are faced with challenges, it is important to be in control of your responses. Rather than blaming the environment or rather than playing the blame game, it is important to get into control and know what really went wrong. So the advice here is to be more proactive than reactive. Okay, so you control your responses to the challenges and replace the blame with responsibility. Take responsibility of what has happened. If for any reason it was your fault that things did not go the way they were planned, then quickly you accept your responsibility, make the necessary corrections, and then proceed. Okay, so it's important that number one, you are proactive. Then number two, begin with the end in mind. Okay, so for every task, for every activity that you are involved in, even before you start, it is important that you see the end with your mind's eye. Okay, so you envision your legacy and align your daily tasks with long-term goals. Okay, so if, for example, you want to get a degree, getting the degree is in 4 years, you realize that for every day that you attend lectures, you are actually aligning your daily tasks of attending lectures with your attaining a degree in 4 years. Okay, so it's important that for every task that you find yourself in, you begin the task with the end in mind. Okay, and in most of the cases, the end is your long-term goal. But aligning your daily tasks with the long-term goal helps you to achieve the long-term goal. Okay, number 3, according to Covey, put first things first. It's important that you know how to prioritize. You prioritize important over urgent. So something that is urgent and you have to attend to immediately may not necessarily be important. Okay, so you need a list that shows which of your tasks requires your attention immediately, which of them has more priority, has a higher has a higher priority over the others. So put first things first, prioritize important over urgent, and use the time matrix to plan weekly. Okay, so it's important to know which of your tasks are urgent and which of them are important. So you are able to prioritize important tasks over urgent tasks, which may not necessarily be important, right? And then number 4, you think win-win, right? Thinking win-win means that you don't necessarily have to do everything by yourself. It's important to collaborate with others, okay? Work with people, work as a team, and know that you are not competing with anybody, okay? Trust people around you, build mutual relationships that will help you to move on, okay? So as you win, the people you have collaborated or the people you are cooperating with also win. So think win-win and foster cooperation, not competition. So as you form alliances, it should be win-win alliances and not competitive alliances, right? Then number 5, you seek first to understand and then be understood. So it's important that you develop active listening skills, and then you also improve your communication and empathy, so that as you interact with people and as you relate with people, it is not just you trying to let everybody know what is happening with you, how you're feeling, what you're going through, and all of that. It is important that you also seek to understand the people you are relating with. Okay, so seek first to understand and then to be understood. So it's a two-way affair, or it's a two-edged sword. As you first seek to understand other people, right, you also be understood by those people. So you need to be able to listen effectively so that you can understand other people. And then you also improve your communication and empathy so that other people will also understand you. Okay. Then number 6, Covey says synergize, right? It's important that you value other perspectives. So if you are performing a particular task, okay, and other people have different perspectives about what you are doing, it is important that even if those perspectives don't align with your own perspective about the task, that you value these diverse perspectives, okay, and create better solutions through collaboration, right? So that you don't feel that you are the only one with all the knowledge in the world, and so you will not value other people's point of view, right? It is important that you value other people's points of view, because it is in doing that that you have other suggestions that will make your task very easy. They may make your task easy. So it's important to synergize. And then number 7, you sharpen the saw. Sharpen the saw here means that you have to invest in yourself, invest in renewing yourself and becoming better. And this investment has to be physically, has to be mentally, emotionally, and then spiritually, right? Physically, it is important that you exercise and have enough sleep, okay? Then mentally, you should be able to read and learn as much as you can. Emotionally, you should surround yourself with relationships that will help you to grow, okay? And then spiritually, you should be able to know the purpose for which you are here, and you should be able to also reflect on your life. It is in doing this that you, the person, you become sharp, okay? And when you have to face any task with this background, you are able to face the task holistically, okay? So to conclude, what we have been saying so far is that Covey's philosophy shifts focus from it shifts focus, or Covey's philosophy shifts focus from efficiency to effectiveness. Okay, where you are not just doing a lot of things in a short time, but you are rather focusing on the most important things to be done. Okay, we've also said that proactivity is more essential than reactivity. So focus on being proactive rather than being reactive. So proactivity, clarity of vision, and value-driven planning are very important. And then you should also note that time should be invested. You don't manage time, you invest time. And it's important to always be in the second quadrant, where you are able to build a meaningful and resilient life, so that you focus on very important things which are not really urgent. Okay, so the 7 habits provide a comprehensive roadmap for balanced personal and professional growth. So these can be applied in every aspect of an individual's life, whether at work or in school or in any activity that you are involved in. Okay, and that brings us to our activity for today, right? So as a group, you will discuss which habits you find most difficult to practice. So which of the 7 habits you find most difficult to practice and why? Feel free to choose more than one if they apply. And then the second part says, how can you apply the time management matrix to your weekly routine? So the group will tell us about this also. And then finally, you tell us about the strategies you can use to shift from a reactive to a proactive mindset, right? So these will be discussed in class. Thank you very much for your time. I look forward to seeing you in class.